This is an emergency broadcast regarding a widespread and dangerous temporal phenomenon. It begins with a sound you've been trained your entire life to trust, the chime of a town clock tower. But tonight, something is wrong. It is 3:13 a.m. The streets are silent. The world is asleep. And the clock tower, which should be silent, begins to chime. 1, 2, 3. It is a sound that should not exist at an hour that should not be marked. This is not a malfunction. This is a broadcast from a time that is not our own. The sound you are hearing is an attack on your reality. Do not listen. Do not count. The chime is a lure, and what it is calling for is your time. The phenomenon, documented in at least 17 towns, begins with a simple, jarring error. The clock tower, a bastion of mechanical reliability, will chime at the wrong hour, not off by a minute or two, but a profound, intentional error. It might chime 13 times at midnight. It might ring a single mournful bell at 4:44 p.m. These are not random glitches. They are precise, deliberate signals. The community's first reaction is always annoyance, then amusement. They assume a simple mechanical failure. This assumption of normalcy is the first line of defense the anomaly must overcome. The first symptom to affect the populace is localized time skips. A person might be driving home, hear the anomalous chime, and suddenly find themselves at their destination with no memory of the last 5 minutes of the drive. A family sitting down to dinner at 6 p.m. hears the chime and looks up to find their plates empty and the wall clock reading 6:30 p.m. These are not memory lapses. These are pockets of stolen time, excised from reality by the sound of the chime. The clock is not just telling the wrong time, it is imposing it. How can a sound affect time? A disturbing theory in fringe physics proposes the existence of chronosonic resonance. This theory suggests that time is not a constant, but a frequency that our consciousness is tuned to. The clock tower, through some unknown modification, is no longer chiming at a normal acoustic frequency. It is broadcasting a sound wave that directly interferes with this temporal frequency. The chime creates a sonic dead zone where our timeline momentarily ceases to exist. For anyone within earshot, you don't experience the lost time because, for you, it never happened. The anomalies escalate. The clock tower's hands begin to behave erratically. They might spin backwards for an hour or freeze entirely for days, all while the chimes continue their impossible schedule. This creates a profound sense of psychological distress in the community, a condition known as temporal dissonance, when the most reliable symbol of order becomes a source of chaos. The human mind begins to lose its grip on the sequence of events, and paranoia begins to set in. The shared reality of the town starts to fray at the edges. The stolen time is not empty. It is being replaced. people begin to have glitch memories, vivid recollections of events that never occurred. A man might remember a conversation with his deceased father. A woman might have a clear memory of a town festival that never happened. The chronosonic resonance theory suggests the clock tower is not just erasing our time, it's broadcasting another timeline, another reality's history, directly into the vacuum it creates. The chimes are overwriting the town's memory with a history that is not its own. A team of urban explorers documenting the phenomenon in the town of Oak Haven decided to investigate the clock tower itself. Their footage is the primary source for this broadcast. They found the entrance locked, but the tower was humming with a low, resonant energy that vibrated in their bones. They recorded the sound, a deep, guttural thrumming that existed beneath the audible chime. This was the true signal, the carrier wave for the temporal anomaly. After forcing the door, the explorers entered the clock tower. The interior was wrong. The gears were not brass and steel, but a strange, crystalline material that seemed to absorb the light from their flashlights. The air was cold and smelled of ozone and burnt sugar. The gears were moving, but not in a way that corresponded to the movement of the hands outside. They were tracing complex, non-Euclidean patterns, as if calculating a dimension beyond our own. At the top of the tower, they found the bell. It was not made of bronze. It was a single, massive, obsidian-like object that seemed to drink in the sound around it. Etched onto its surface were not maker's marks or dates, but complex star charts and what appeared to be equations for temporal physics. The bell was not a bell. It was a transmitter, a broadcast antenna for another reality. This discovery leads to a second, more terrifying theory. The clock tower is a temporal anchor, an entity or civilization from another timeline is using it to anchor their reality onto ours. The chimes are a form of temporal terraforming, slowly changing our timeline's frequency to match their own. They are not invading us with ships or armies. They are invading us with time. Once the frequencies match, their reality will completely overwrite ours, and our history will cease to have ever existed. The explorer's footage captures the moment the clock strikes midnight. It chimes 12 times, as expected, but then, after a pause of exactly 13 seconds, a 13th chime rings out. This chime is different, deeper, more resonant, and physically painful to hear. The camera glitches violently. In the single frame of clear footage, the explorers are no longer there. The room is empty. The 13th chime is not a number. It is a function, the execute command. The moment of final erasure. The found footage was recovered from the camera, which was discovered at the base of the clock tower. Of the 3 explorers, there is no record. Not just missing, their birth certificates, driver's licenses, and family photos are gone. They have been retroactively erased from history. The 13th chime did not kill them. It unhappened them. The town of Oak Haven began to decay. Not physically, but temporally. Buildings would appear and disappear overnight. Streets would rearrange themselves. The population, their minds now riddled with corrupted memories and lost time, fell into a state of listless confusion. They were living ghosts in a town that was no longer entirely theirs. The anchor was taking hold. The Oak Haven Clocktower was not the first. Our research has uncovered a pattern of similar events, often dismissed as mass hysteria or local folklore. The phenomenon is spreading. A clock tower in a neighboring town began chiming at the wrong hour last Tuesday. The temporal infection is contagious. The chronosonic frequency can propagate, turning other clock towers into repeaters for the hostile timeline. A horrifying new development has emerged. Individuals who have been heavily exposed to the chimes are becoming human resonators. They begin to hum the deep, guttural frequency of the clock tower. Their presence can cause clocks to stop and time to skip for people around them. They are carriers. The infection no longer needs the tower to spread. It can now spread from person to person. The point of no return for a community is when the majority of its citizens have more glitch memories than real ones. Their shared history has been completely overwritten. They will not fight the change because they no longer remember what reality was like before. They will accept the new timeline as the only one that has ever existed. They will be a conquered people who do not even know they were in a war. Is there a defense? The found footage from the Oak Haven explorers offers a single, desperate clue. One explorer was wearing industrial-grade, noise-canceling headphones. In the final moments, his image glitches less violently than the others. It suggests the primary vector of attack is auditory. The only defense may be to not hear the chime, to create a pocket of silence, to refuse to listen to the time it is telling you. This is not a local problem. There are over 60,000 public clock towers on this planet. Each one is a potential anchor point. Each one is a potential weapon that can be turned against us. The silent, ticking infrastructure of our society is the perfect Trojan horse for an invasion that we cannot see, hear, or remember. The goal of the entity is to achieve a global chronosonic cascade, a moment when every infected clock tower chimes the 13th chime in perfect unison. This would be enough to permanently shift the baseline frequency of our entire planet's timeline. It would be a global reboot. Our reality, our history, our very existence would be overwritten in an instant. We would all become a glitch memory in their new, dominant timeline. This broadcast is a critical public safety warning. The familiar chime of a clock tower may no longer be a sound of comfort. It may be a weapon If you hear a clock tower chime at the wrong hour or count the wrong number, it is not a mistake. It is a broadcast. Your only course of action is to block the sound. Get indoors. Cover your ears. Do not let it steal your time. The stability of our shared reality depends on your refusal to listen to a time that is not ours.